you a little bit about my background, so you know where I'm coming from. My grandfather told me that people came from all over the world and brought ideas to this country. You know, every country. And he said that, I think if you pledge allegiance to the earth and everyone on it, that'd be the way to go for the future. If you pledge allegiance to one country, you're kind of cutting yourself off. So I think all of us have relatives that have come from different countries, okay? So if you say, like the big dumb Swede, get a big dumb Swede or dumb Polak to clean out your cellar, or a drunken Irishman, you know, or a chiseling Jew, or a goddamn Wop. There's a goddamn everybody in this world, you know? And the world you live in, you know how women are, and women say, well, you know how men are. Well, they aren't in any special way. It depends on where they're brought up. So when I was a kid, I want to know what men and women would be like if they weren't too contaminated by civilization. Okay? You can take all the pictures you want. And so I worked my way on a boat to Hawaii, and then to the Solomon Islands, and then to Tahiti. But the Chinese already owned all the businesses there. They had business set up as stores, and that was already contaminated. So I found some out islands called the Tuamotu chain. This is 65 years ago. When I got there, everybody walked around nude. It was normal to that culture. And I never saw a male stare at a female body. Can you understand that? Or is there trouble? They were swimming nude ever since they were that high. They look at the girl's eyes when they talk to her. Never the body. Never, hey, get a load of that shit. That's learned in this culture. Every book written in this culture is culture bound. It has nothing to do with reality. It's where this culture is. So what I'm going to try to tell you is that 90% of what you've been brought up to believe in is strictly bullshit. Okay? Okay. Now, when I was on the islands, I brought mirrors and beads to placate the island. I was going to give them to the natives to show I come as a friend, not to take anything away from them. But they were already in my thatched hut after I built it, giving out my mirrors and beads to one another without my permission. And I was a little confused, you know. So I said, well, what's going on here? And they said, you have too many. I really did. But I really didn't understand it, because I was a jerk brought up in a civilized country. But about 3 days later, I did understand it. The men and women, the older men and women, were pulling in nets full of fish, and they threw fish to anyone standing there. Not you owe me a buck to have, you owe me $3. They just threw fish. And coconuts were so available, and bananas, that nobody sold anything. They just gave you things. Does that make sense? Right. Then the missionaries came. They set up a tent. Those of you that are religious might be shocked. They set up a tent, and they told the girls to wear T-shirts when they came to church. And the girls had no idea of why. It's like me covering your nose, because you don't expose your nose. It's the same world. So anyway, the girls brought out the T-shirts. They brought them from the States. They had them with them, and they gave them to the girls, not to the men. You know. And the girls cut 2 holes in the T-shirts. They were uncomfortable. Okay? And the missionaries were confused. The missionaries have a fixed point of view. They create God, man creates God in his own image. Not just the opposite, what you read in the Bible. And God is more like man than God. God gets pissed off, angry, creates floods, disease, all this. And then if you don't follow his teachings, you burn eternally. That's not God, that's a psychopath. If you're religious, you're going to be hurt. You can leave now if you want to. Because all religion is low-grade stuff, terrible stuff. You know, Noah's Ark would have to be a mile long. What would you do with all the shit of all the animals? You know, flies galore in there. Where did he get the polar bear from? The stories are so ridiculous that Moses raised his wand and parted the Red Sea. God could have put the Jews on the other side without parting the Red Sea. You know, all the stories are awful. Now, as I understand, if you have children, most of you anyway, would try to make them smarter and better than you are in every way you are able to. And if they got too smart, they leave you.
That's what's
Think
supposed to happen. We're
So,
supposed to prepare them.
like most of you, or some of you, may have left your parents because they lived in the past. Okay? I'm not against anybody, I'm just telling you the way it is. So anyway, after I was on the island a while, I asked the natives if they would help me build an outrigger canoe. I know how to build one better than they do, but I wanted to establish, you know, I come as like one of you. And they got in a huddle and didn't say a thing, and they left. About a week later, they brought a canoe over and they put it down, thrown my thatched hut. They just said, it's for you, for your use. So I said, well, what do you want? Do you want me to do anything for you? No, they didn't know what that meant. What do you want? I brought that with me from where I came, you know. And they didn't want anything. Anyway, it appears about a week and a half later, I heard some rustling outside my thatched hut, and I looked out, and they were sneaking off with the canoe that they gave me. I didn't understand that, so I stepped out and I said, what's going on? I said, you no use. It's true, I didn't use it. So they took it back. Of course, I was a little confused, but I got to understand all that later. And they were sane in many ways, saner than we are. And I wanted you to understand that people reflect their culture.